We're going to start this call with a group release, and the topic is, consulting his notes, the pressure to hold it all together. So, let's talk a little bit about what I mean. First, I'm going to tell you, in my experience at the age of 32, this is one of the most difficult times, I think, to be a human being on this planet. There is economic pressure, rising costs, right? Wage stagnation. There's also incredibly polarizing politics. On top of that, we all have the burden of digital media, all the notifications, all of the social media stress. And all of this has an impact on us. It isn't as if life were easy already. We have our responsibilities. We have work, family, caregiving, any number of different responsibilities. And this also has an impact on our health. Second. There we go. So, let me just start off by assuring you, you're not the only one that feels these pressures. We all do. And the reason I say that is because I think a lot of us feel like we're struggling in isolation, like we're the only ones that have to keep it going. But no, in fact, everybody around us is struggling with the same set of challenges. And, well, with that introduction, let's get into a little releasing. So I invite you to think about what it means to you to hold it all together. Just notice the pressures that you feel, whatever they happen to be and however they show up for you. Just allow the mind to play any kinds of films, memories. Notice any kinds of images and sounds that come up. And I invite you to go into the body in particular. Notice how the body reacts to all of this. Obviously, there's some kind of reaction, so have a look around and notice. A lot of us are going to feel tension here in the core of the body. It may also show up in the shoulders, head, any number of areas. So have a look around and see how this kind of pressure shows up for you. And when you're ready, take a deep breath and just allow it as best you can. It's here anyway. And you'll notice that there's an interplay going on between the mind and the body because something is happening in the body. And the mind thinks it needs to understand that. It needs to have a name, a reason, an explanation. And as the mind is generating thoughts, memories, images, the body is reacting to that. And it's this interplay between the two that really intensifies all of this and turns it into a problem with a capital P. So the first thing that we're going to do is just take a radical step. Could you let go of wanting any of this to mean anything? Now you may find the mind protesting with that. The mind wants to try and figure all this out. And so we're just going to take that step one more time. Could you, as best you can, let go of wanting what's happening in the body to mean anything? And would you let go? And when? And so I invite you to consider the possibility that what's happening in the body is simply energy passing through. It doesn't need to mean anything. It doesn't need an explanation or a reason. It doesn't have to make sense. So notice what's happening in the body, and just as best you can, could you give it permission to be like that? Not forever, but just for now. And would you give it permission to be like that? And when? So take a breath or two and just notice how that lands. So the topic today is the pressure to hold it all together, something all of us are feeling. And notice how that shows up for you. What is your topic? It could be the money. It might be pressure from your job. It could be looking for a job. It could be family. It could be your digital life, the pressure of social media and the news. It could be any number of different things. Because showing up as a human being in 2025 is a particularly challenging thing to do. Speaking from the perspective of a 62-year-old body. Having seen something of the world, I can tell you 2025 has been a particularly stressful year for pretty much everybody on the planet. So just notice how all this lands for you. Notice how this shows up in the body. Notice how this shows up in the mind. And again, there's that sense that I have to hold this all together. I have to keep moving forward somehow. In the center of all of this is that sense of me. I am the one. I am responsible. That's what this becomes. We take all of the pressure that we're feeling and convert this into responsibility, which ultimately points at you, me, the individual. So notice that, and just as best you can, could you allow this to be like that without any need to react, do something, take responsibility, without even the necessity of doing something called releasing? Could you just allow all of this to be here? Give it permission just for now. And then when you're ready, notice that sense of me, how personal it shows up for you. That sense that I have to do something. I am the center, the focus of all of this. That's where the weight comes from. And when you're ready, could you find the one who feels that way? Have a look around. Take a moment. Can you find that sense of the individual? Can you find that personhood? Can you find the one who feels this way? Some of you will say no. Others may find something. So let's go a little bit deeper with this. Have a look around even further and notice, is it possible that that sense of me, really, the personhood, the self, is it possible this is just thoughts? Are you these thoughts? Or are you that which is aware of these thoughts? You may also notice this feeling of a body. It seems to be attached, right? Well, again, these are simply sensations. If I, for example, touch my arm, I feel the touch and I also perceive it with my vision. What if these sensations are simply passing through my awareness? What if? Well, the question is, am I these sensations? Or am I that which is aware of these sensations? And so, just as best you can, could you allow yourself to rest as that which is aware? And it doesn't mean that any of this has to go away. But what it might mean is have a look and see. Is that which is aware affected by any of this? I suppose that feels like a good place to slow down and stop.